Hi, I'm Scott Humphrey, CEO of the World Floor Covering Association, and this is Leadership Live. And this week on Leadership by the Letter, it's our second week on the letter R, and the word is remember. And though you're receiving this later in the week, I would tell you the day I'm recording this word is very pertinent because I'm recording this on 9/11. And this morning, even in our church service, we talked about 9/11 and the impact it had on us as individuals and the impact that it had on our country. There is power in looking back at those moments that help to define us. And all of us can think about some major event that happened in our life, the death of somebody famous that really challenged us to evaluate our life and make sure we're doing the most that we can with it. There is power in looking back. But remember, I've told you many times, the past is a great place to learn, but a terrible place to live. You don't want to live there. But using that to spur you forward is a phenomenal tool. Karen Bola was a researcher with Johns Hopkins, and she found out that there are certain things that all of us struggle with remembering. She said 83% of people struggle with remembering names. 60% forget where something is. 57%, and I would tell you I think this number is even higher now, forget telephone numbers. I think it's higher because our phones store the numbers and we don't have to memorize them anymore. 53% admitted that they struggle with remembering words. 49% forget what was said. So all of you spouses that have been blamed for not listening, believe me, you're very close to being in the majority on that, 49%. And 42% struggle with remembering faces. There is power in remembering. And I want to give you 3 places that I think you need to remember that again will help spur you toward your future potential. Number 1, my parents used to tell me this when I go spend the night with someone or go away for the weekend, and they would say, remember who you are. And what they were saying is there are certain values that we have instilled in you, and we expect you to live by those values. You have standards in your organization. You expect your employees to operate according to those standards. Remember who you are. Secondly, remember where you came from. Boy, I'm telling you, when I look back at my history and I realize that I grew up in a 10-foot wide trailer with 5 of us living in that 10-foot wide trailer and then working for years in my dad's carpet mill, making very little or not anything, but never really complained about that because that was my life. In fact, I have this picture on the wall in my office so that every day I'm reminded where I came from. This is the trailer that I grew up in. 10 foot wide, 5 of us lived there. We didn't realize we were poor, that certainly by the world standards we were. But that helped shape me into the person I am. I don't care about titles. I don't care about last names. I think all of us have to get up and prove ourselves every day. Third, I would tell you to remember how you got where you are. There are people in your past along the way. There are failures in your past along the way. And there are certainly successes that you need to remember because, again, they can be catalyst for what should go forward for you, what should happen in your future. Let me give you an exercise you can do. We did this at my church a few years ago. We have what's called an interim pastor or a transitional pastor, and he had us map out the life of our church. So we put the date that our church was founded and the current date, and then we wrote in key dates along the way. So you do this with your organization. When was your business founded? What's the date now? And what are the key dates that stand out to you in that 20-year, 10-year, 50-year tenure? What are the things that were different, that were unique? Great sales years, years of great success, years where you didn't hit the numbers and failures, years that you had some great event that took place, or maybe an event in the community that really changed the way that you functioned. Why do you do that? Because you want to go back and replicate the things that worked. And you want to look at the years that you failed and say, okay, we're not doing any of that stuff again, are we? We're not falling into the same rut, are we? That's the power of remembering. Listen, great leaders have to be visionaries, and we'll talk about that in a few weeks. But to be a really great leader, you've got to be able to learn from your past and from the past of your organization. You got to be willing to remember. So go out there and lead.